I would request everyone to be seated. So we will start this sixth session, and after this delicious lunch, I hope everyone is wide awake and ready to learn some new things. For this sixth session, can you please, thank you. For this sixth session, we have our chair, Professor S.R. Bhatt, who need no introduction, but still, he is the former chairman, Indian Council of Philosophical Research, and he has a very long relationship with Tibet House, and he is a renowned scholar, and I would request him to please come on the stage. And the speaker for the session would be Keshet Dojit Damdullah, Director of Tibet House. I would also request him to come on the stage. So this session will be on Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta and the essence of dependent origination mantra. And without taking much time of this precious time of Chair and Geshe-la, I would request Professor S.R. Bhatt to chair the session. Thank you.
It's not working.
It's working.
Working?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to this post-lunch session. We had for the last 2 days a very stimulating deliberation along with relishing food for our belly, and this makes us in fact after lunch a little drowsy also, but we have a wonderful speaker, a dynamic administrator of Tibet House, an erudite scholar who is deeply steeped in Buddhist lore, and therefore it will keep our mind always alert and fresh to receive the noble and sublime ideas which are contained in the text under discussion, and particularly in the context of Pratitya Samutpada, which is regarded as the key or a foundation or a treasure kosh of Buddhist thought. It is a very sublime concept, and it lies underneath all Buddhist doctrines and practices. So Pratitya Samutpada is the heart of Buddhism, and it has been understood as Dvadash Nidana. It is also understood as Shunyata, and it is also interpreted as Paraspar Ashrayata, interrelationship, interdependentship. Now, this Pratitya Samutpada points out that all phenomena have a dependent origination, no intrinsic inherent nature, and therefore they are what is known as Swabhava Shunya. They are not vacuous, as someone tried to understand it in the earlier session. It is not nothingness, it is fullness rather. And therefore sometimes in Indian broad cultural tradition, we equate Shunya with Brahma. we have a concept of Shunya Brahma also, which is fullness. But this fullness is possible if and only if we have a proper viewpoint, samyak drishti. And it is this which is being emphasized even in Satipaṭṭhāna. In fact, it is a smriti. Sati also stands for remember. Constantly we have to remind ourselves of this inherent nature of the reality, the ultimate truth. So I now request Geshe-la Thorji Samdamdulji to enlighten us about the essence of this Satipaṭṭhāna in the context of, in the background of Pratitya Samutpada. Geshe-la ji.
With the permission of the chairperson, may I sit down and talk here?
Yeah.
Fine. Thank you. Okay. Two things. Number one, that the audience is already exposed to the concept of the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutra with the help of the earlier presenters, yesterday's presenters, and today's presenters, and some of them very textual, so rich of they're rich in knowledge, and others experiential, and many others inspirations. So that lays a very good ground for me here. And this is one thing. Then number two is that there are so many youngsters, young people. The world, as we discussed yesterday, the world is, on one hand, it's developing, progressing. On the other hand, it's going through a major crisis. So finally, crisis meaning the people, the beings in the world, they suffer. So the future of the world is in the hands of the youngsters. So the youngsters, for them to be connected with Satipaṭṭhāna Sutra, that is extremely crucial. And then it is not necessary that anybody who knows about it, who practices it, should be a Buddhist. This is not the case. So I always jokingly say that you can enjoy pizza, no need to become an Italian. This is what I strongly feel. Finally, the point is that everybody should be benefited out of this. Your miseries should go down. Your happiness should increase. If that happens, that is the purpose of the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutra. Okay. So with this in mind, I like to just begin with a very short anecdote. And people oftentimes, they come with the questions as to whether this is suitable for the ordinary people or to the very advanced practitioners and so forth. So I like to just start to begin with a real life anecdote. One of my friends, she called me up on the phone early one morning and said that, Geshe-la, I'm going to quit Buddhism now. I'm going to quit Buddhism. I said, okay, that's fine. Is there any reason? And she said that, oh, I prayed to Buddha, I prayed to Tara for all these last 3 years. And then my prayer was not at all answered. I said, what was your prayer? And she said that my brother was not getting a job. And I prayed to Buddha, Tara all the time for the last 3 years, and my prayer was never answered. I said, I see. Okay, you are quitting Buddhism because your brother's not getting a job. Okay, if this is the case, then the very purpose for you to embrace Buddhism or to qualify yourself, to label yourself as a Buddhist, this doesn't really have a sound ground. If your brother's not getting a job, don't become a Buddhist. If your brother's not getting a job, what you do is that don't pray to Buddha also. Pray to your brother, study well. Sit for the entrance exams. Sit for your competitive exams. Don't go to the pubs. Don't go to nightclubs. Study more. Sit for the competitive exams, you get a job, guaranteed. For this, you don't have to become Buddhist. You don't have to even pray to the Buddha. This is what I said. Okay, so for that matter, the point is finally, say your religion is your religion. You are a Hindu, remain a good Hindu. You are a Muslim, remain a good Muslim. You are a Jain, remain a good Jain. You are a Sikh, Jew, Parsi, Baha'i, whatever religion, Buddhists, even non-believers, remain a good non-believer. But make sure that your suffering is reduced and your happiness is increased. If that is happening, your goal is accomplished. So with this basic remark, I'd like to begin the talk that how to correlate the two things. One, on the one hand, we have in the place of Kuru, the Buddha taught on the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutra, and then the Buddha, in the 37, the heaven, the Buddha taught the essence of dependent origination teaching, Sutra. There, this was given there. And then in the first turning wheel of Dharma in Varanasi or Sarnath, the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths. And then in Rajgir, the Buddha taught the Salistamba Sutra. So we see that all these different teachings were given, and what are the correlations? In fact, yesterday, Professor S.R. Bhattji, what he mentioned about, the word that he used was symbiosis. How can we correlate? How can we put one in the context of the other teachings? Anybody who can do that, that person has really understood the teachings. So in this context, for us it's very important to be able to correlate all these teachings. On the one hand, to be very practical, we heard perhaps all of us, we must have heard this word, the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, like hundreds of times for the last 2 days, today and yesterday. But how many of us were aware what the four mindfulnesses are? What the four mindfulnesses are? What the four Satipaṭṭhāna are? This question. So for that, there must be some takeaway. There must be some takeaway for each one of us. There is a four. One is related to the body. One is related to the feelings or the sensations. Some people translate it as sensations. Some people translate it as feelings. It doesn't matter. So the body, the feeling, mind, and the phenomena. External, internal, the phenomena. Okay. This four. And the close placement or the presence of the mindfulness, or the close placement of the mindfulness, in Tibetan it is Tempa Nyeshak. Nyewar Shaba. Nyewa is the close, Shaba is the place, establish, or be present. It has all these connotations. So with this in mind, the first I like to take us closer to what they really mean. We finally, and then yesterday, the last 2 days, we heard that the Buddha's teachings is finally grounded on the wisdom, and Buddha indicated that the source of all the problems is ignorance. This is what we all heard so many times, and that's also very true. Ignorance means misperceptions of the reality. Now, how to get rid of this ignorance? Until we get rid of this ignorance, then the miseries will never come to an end. It can be just like a temporary respite. Other than that, the real cessation of the miseries will not happen at all. Now, how to get rid of this ignorance? It is through introducing the counter force. It is never, ever through, the praying to Buddha, Buddha, please remove my ignorance. If there is a darkness in this hall, you want to write something, then you pray to Buddha, please remove this darkness. If the Buddha is sitting next to you, the Buddha will be very unhappy. What a stupid follower. What the unwise follower. Just light a candle. You don't pray to me, just light a candle. Okay, just as the light, just as to dispel the darkness of ignorance, we have to introduce the light with the wisdom. It is only through introducing the light with the wisdom that the darkness of ignorance can be eradicated. This is one point. The next point, what is that wisdom? That wisdom, by the very definition, is the discerning mind whose apprehension of the reality tallies with the reality. Which means that our perception doesn't tally with the reality? Answer is yes, it doesn't tally with the reality. When our perceptions do not tally with the reality, this is known as misperception. This is known as ignorance. Why our perception doesn't tally with the reality? Because we don't see the objects closely. So the close placement. We don't see the objects very closely. We look at things from a very distance. For example, say some people might have the trick in order to get a good selfie or to have a good picture of yourself. You ask the photographer, please stay distance. Don't come too close to me, right? If you come too close, all these creases will be visible. From distance, all these creases will not be seen. So this is how we are deceiving. This is how the misperception is taking place, because we are not being too close. So that is where the Buddha said that we need to, and then as long as this ignorance is there, and you take this picture and you send it to somebody, and people, they like you, I like, and they like multiplies. And then the people, they eventually come to see you. It's very different. Because they are seeing you more closely. In the picture, they are seeing you very from distance, from far away. Misperception created. Now the person is seeing the reality, and then this attachment dissolves. This is reality. So therefore, the point is that the Buddha then said that all our problems are because of the ignorance. And ignorance, primarily there are 4 kinds of ignorance. 4 levels of ignorance, 4 kinds of ignorance. 4 kinds. We call them 4 misperceptions. So what are they? Number 1, perceiving impermanent phenomena as permanent. This one misperception. Say, when we lose your near and dear ones, and suddenly we have a shock. What do you mean by shock? Shock means that you don't expect that to happen. Why? That person should be permanent. So then you have the shock to see the impermanence. That is, seeing the impermanent phenomena to be permanent, that gives you the shock. That misperception gives you a shock. Then number 2, seeing the unpleasant feelings as pleasant. And then you think that to get a big house is happiness, and 1 day, 2 days is fine, and then maintenance problem, then property tax. Bigger the house, bigger the property tax, and then bigger the house management. For the management, you see that you have to hire helpers, and the helpers, these are the real things. The Buddha is not talking about some esoteric concepts. Buddha is talking about the reality. I come across many people who come to me saying that, oh, my mate is not loyal, my mate is, my helper is, stealing things. If you don't keep helpers, there's a problem. You cannot manage it yourself. If you keep the helpers, you have the problem. If you have a big house, there's a problem. So we see the big house, good cars, big car, whatever, the big company, bigger the company, bigger the headache. Right? You have so much of stress, tensions there. This is the reality. So what we see as pleasant is actually not pleasant. We are seeing the unpleasant things as pleasant. This is number 2. This is seeing the unpleasant things as pleasant. This is the second misperception. Then number 3 is impure as pure. You see impure things as pure. For example, say when we go out, we make sure that we take a shower. Right? So this morning, one of the students, the Hamala, she made this beautiful presentation. We take a shower and then we put scents. Why? Because the fragrance is not coming from our body. From our body, something else is coming out. it's not coming out. So therefore we have to artificially put it. And then people are so happy to smell nice. Actually, this is not your smell, this is a borrowed smell. But people think that this is your smell. And we know that it's not your smell, but still we are blinded by seeing the reality. Whereas when this, after about 2-3 days, that smell disappears, then another smell comes out, then we see that this is so repulsive, this is the reality. So seeing the unpleasant things as pleasant, the impure things as pure. Okay, then the fourth one will come a little later. So seeing what is of selfless nature, what is being of empty nature. Empty meaning the selfless nature of the nature of the selfhood. What is of empty of intrinsic self to be of the empty of the nature of the intrinsic self, intrinsic reality. So these four misperceptions. Now the Buddha said that if you live in the illusion, the world of the illusion, if you're happy, stay with this. If you live in the world of illusion, if you're happy, if you're genuinely happy, stay with this, there's no problem. But in reality, that we end up in the problems, sickness, aging, death, tension, depression, anxiety, anguish, and so forth. All these problems are there. And in fact, one moment of such a tragedy is good enough to nullify all the past wonderful experiences of merriments, festivities, celebrations, anniversaries, and so forth. One moment is good enough. Just a loss of near and dear one. Say a husband losing the wife losing the husband, the children losing the parents losing the children. This just one incident is good enough to nullify all the past experiences otherwise considered to be a great merriment and celebrations and festivities. Okay, so this is what the Buddha is saying, that this is what we are inflicted with. And if we don't want this, we have to know where this comes from. It came from the ignorance, misperception. Why misperception? Because of not seeing the things so closely. When you don't see things closely, then you misrepresent the reality. In what way? Misrepresented in 4 ways. Seeing impermanent phenomena as permanent, then seeing these unpleasant things as pleasant, seeing the impure things as pure, and seeing the empty of intrinsicality as the intrinsic nature. So these 4 misperceptions, then they will give rise to all the shocks of the miseries of samsara. Okay, now how do I get rid of this ignorance? How do get rid of these misperceptions? Through prayers. Of course, prayers are very important. Yesterday somebody indicated that prayers are important, but we should not forget the main thing. What is the main thing? The main thing is to see the reality as it is, to see the reality which is directly in opposition to how the misperceptions perceive. So for that matter, how can I see the reality? Go closer. Now the close placements, the Buddha indicated, go closer towards to object. Go closer. Then as I go closer, so go closer towards your body which is seen as so pure. Go closer to the body, then you will discover another reality. Then the feelings, you go closer to the feelings. Then some English translators translate it as sensation. That is actually the one part of the connotation. It's not the full connotation. It has the feeling related to the physical, which is sensations, and the feeling related to the mental, which is mental feelings. There are 2. Then also the mind, go closer towards the feelings. Then go closer towards the mind. Then go closer towards the phenomena, external, internal phenomena. Okay, go closer. When you go closer, you will discover several layers of reality. You're getting it? It's not just closer means only one. No. Say, for example, how do you see this from distance? A glass of water. Then you go closer towards this. Who sees the same thing, going closer towards it, as H2O. Chemists will see the same object more closer than how we see. Then the physicists see even closer than how the chemists see. Physicists see this as electrons, protons, neutrons. That's it. Same object seen in three ways. How you look at it from distance, you see this water. More close, you see it as H2O. And still closer, you see as electrons, protons, neutrons. So same thing, the closer you go, subtly you see the reality. So this is the meaning of the Satipaṭṭhāna. So as the close placement, the close observation, the close presence, closer you go. Okay, now closer you go, first what you discover is that the body which was seen as so pure, clean, in actuality, one of the presenters, again two presenters made this presentation about how this body is in actuality that is seen. Once I was very young, I think maybe I was aged like 10 or 11 in school, and then one of my classmates, he just had an accident meaning just he fell, and then somewhere on the leg it was cut, and then it was the first time in my life to see that, the cut, and the fatty tissues inside, the fats from the leg, it came out. Just see it, and then I could not bear to see it. I could not even bear to see it. It's so repulsive. And then I realized that this is exactly what my body is also made of. It's not just his body. My body is also made of this. Such a repulsion came to me. So this was exactly, so I believed in it because of seeing it. Seeing is believing. Whereas the Buddha taught us that you don't really have to go to that extent of cutting yourself. Right? You exercise your mind to train in this. Train in the way this young boy saw it with his visually, how he saw that. Likewise, we have to go inside and see what that is like, the fatty tissues. Today is very easy, Satipaṭṭhāna. If the Buddha were to be alive today, then he would surely ask you to Google search the fatty tissues inside, cartilages, the bones, all the visceral organs. They're so easy for us. And then on that basis, then contemplate on this more often. Okay. So this is about the body. And then the feelings, which we are, this is our thinking. Our thinking is so immature, and our thinking is full of contradictions. Say, one moment you're very sad, and then the next moment you're very happy, and you forgot the sadness, you forgot the earlier pains, and then the same incident, same trigger, earlier triggered pain, and the next, there's due to other factors, it gives you a little bit of happiness, and then actually the same trigger is there, which can potentially give you more pain, but we're totally oblivious to that. So this is where to see in reality is an unpleasant feeling. Unpleasant, yet we see this, we just from distance, from far away, we see it as pleasant. Okay, so that is misperception with the feelings. And with the mind, the mind which is seen as, say, okay, I'm feeling it, my mind is feeling it, which is seen as so static, so permanent, so enduring. But in actuality, we observe it very closely, we see this very, very, very scary, how it disintegrates, moment by moment, disintegrates. Doesn't mean that the mind becomes the non-existent. Say the arising and ceasing. Say if you read the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutra yourself, actual sutra that is in Buddha, there's a constant reference to the arising and ceasing. Arising and ceasing doesn't mean that the mind arises, the mind disappears. This is not a connotation. This is where some people, they have to defend their position. Okay, the mind arises, mind ceases, then who experiences the next moment? There's no mind. Okay, this is where first moment of the mind arises, first moment mind ceases, second moment of mind arises. So the mind overall, arising, ceasing is happening, but it doesn't mean that mind will annihilate. First moment of the mind disappears, second moment of the mind arises. Okay, this is how we have to keep things, we have to have a deeper understanding of the philosophy. Then finally, the last point, seeing what is seen as objectively real, the intrinsically real, intrinsicality there, to be empty of intrinsicality. So that I'm going to explain a little later. Okay, so now when you go closer towards yourself, your body, your feeling, your mind, and the other phenomena, we tend to discover something else, which was not what I thought before. You discover that. That is the close placement, or the Tembanyesha, or the Satipaṭṭhāna of the four Satipaṭṭhānas. Okay, that is what is common to all traditions, and this is something which which all of us can practice. Number one. Then, if you go still closer, then you will discover another layer. What we see as, for example, let's say, what do we see as? Okay, how much time I have?
Please go on.
Okay, till 10 minutes more. Okay, so if you go still closer, it is like, let's say, it's like the painting of a Buddha. The painting of a Buddha. So nowadays we have the paintings or the photographs on the mobiles made of pixels, made of dots. If made of dots, then we talk in terms of dBi, dots per inch, which means that, say, for a picture to be clear enough to be seen, it should be made of 200 dBis. 200 dBis, which means 200 dots per inch. So that will make a picture for us to be able to identify what that picture actually represents. So that 200 dBi means that it has 200 and 200. 200 is 200 into 200 is 40,000. 40,000 dots. It requires like 40,000 dots within a 1 square inch space. So if this object, you magnify this like 20 feet by 20 feet, 20 feet by 20 feet, the dots which constitute this picture, the size of the dots will increase. Meanwhile, the space between the dots will also increase. And then when you're too close to the object, from distance you will see it as a Buddha picture. Too close placement, mindfulness, Satipaṭṭhāna. Too close there, what you'll see is that the Buddha picture is not there. Just the dots are there. There's no Buddha picture. But from distance, people are saying Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, seeing this picture. And you, in front of you, what are they doing? They are just saying Buddham Sharanam to these dots. Where's the Buddha? For you, you see that this Buddha is not there. Then you go back to that place, like 1 kilometer away from your space, then you see that there's a Buddha there. Okay, from this, a wise person, because who can go closer? Intelligent people can go, or the trained people can go. It's not that there are given a set of people who are known as the trained people. No, each one of us, we can become trained. Just train yourself. Each one of us, not matter whether you're monk, nun, or lay audience. It doesn't matter. Anybody can practice this. And then more you trained, closer you reach to the reality. Closer you reach, then you will come to discover that what I earlier saw was, I saw that. Undeniably, I saw that. Undeniably, the picture of the Buddha appeared to me. Undeniably. But now, going too close to the object is not there. Undeniably, the picture appeared to me, but now it's not there. From the object, it's not there. But from distance, it undeniably appeared. Therefore, what's the conclusion? the wise people, intelligent people, trained people, learned people, what they will conclude is that it was just a mere appearance, not from the object, like illusion. What is the illusion? Say Professor Kaviriji, the chairing the students' the panel discussion, she quoted Are Nagarjuna, if the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? Close. Again, this word close appears here. Close. If the mirage were to be water, why not those close by the mirage see water? Close. Okay, how would you evaluate that if you see me in water, you 1 kilometer away from me, and you see that I'm in water? How do you evaluate that I'm actually in the water, or what are you seeing as a mirage? How would you evaluate that? By coming closer towards where I am. By coming closer, you see that there's nothing really water there. It's just so dry. What do you conclude? The earlier appearance of water was a mere appearance. Mere appearance means it's not real. It's just mere appearance. From the objects, it's empty. From the object, it's empty. It is there as a mere appearance. From the object, it's empty. From the subject, it's there. Okay, so that is the another layer of the reality. Now with the body, you see that even the body, what earlier saw as so pure, then later stage is seen as so impure. You're getting it? First, very pure, then it traps into samsara. Then the second, very impure, then it detaches from samsara. Right? Detaches from samsara. But is that a real detachment from samsara? This is again questionable. Because you're affected by the body. Seeing the body is impure, it affects you. It affects you. Affects you means you have loss of you loss of freedom. Because you don't want to be affected, you are affected. I don't have the freedom, choose not to be affected by this factor. There is loss of freedom. Loss of freedom is misery, misery of samsara. So you are freed from the one layer of the gross layer of the samsara, you are trapped in another subtle layer of the samsara, number 2. Then when you reach the third level, you see that even the beautiful, pure, impure, both are empty. Because going closer, you see that from the object, there's nothing there as beautiful or as pure as impure. Then the object cannot affect you anymore. It's not beautiful, it's not unattractive, so you are not affected by the object anymore. So that is real freedom. So for that, this is like what in Heart Sutra the Buddha indicated as gade gade para gade para samgade bodhisvaha. So this is what Heart Sutra indicates, that we have to follow the process. So the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutra, the one particularly working on the go closer towards the reality, to see the reality more closely. You see, first level that you see by closer is that the body to be impure, the feelings to be of suffering nature, the mind to be impermanent nature, and the phenomena to be of the empty of intrinsicality. So there is one layer. Then you go even closer, then you see the body to be empty of intrinsicality, then the feeling to be empty of intrinsicality, not only the phenomena, but also the feeling, the mind, and the phenomena, all to be empty of intrinsicality. When you see that, then you feel that you realize that there's nothing really there in this universe which can really affect you. This is a total freedom. This is the meaning of the nirvana. Okay, so with this in mind, now how do we relate this to the essence of dependent origination mantra? So the mantra you can see on page 35. Page 35, it reads, Om ye dharma hetu prabhava hetum desham tathagato hyavatat desham jayo nirodha evam vadi mahashramane soha. Okay, so this one is a Sanskrit version, and I'm so glad that when I was in Malaysia, I think the first time, my first time in Malaysia, I went to a Theravada center, and the center invited me to give a talk to the students, and then the main host, the head of the institute, he recited the same mantra in Pali. I was so happy. Okay, now the Theravada tradition and the Nalanda tradition, which is Chinese, and the Tibetan tradition, these two traditions, Theravada tradition, primarily based on the Pali language, Nalanda tradition, primarily based on the Sanskrit language. These two Buddhism, there's a ground there, is so beautiful. I'm so happy that we have brothers. This is the ground. So from this, we see that ye dharma hetu prabhava. Now it's very simple. Ye dharma, these phenomena, ye dharma hetu prabhava. They arise from ye dharma hetu, causes, prabhava arise. These phenomena, they arise from the causes. Hetum tesham tathagato hyavatat. What these causes are is taught by the Tathagato. Hyavatat taught by the Tathagato. Okay, so here the point is, these phenomena arise from the causes. What the causes are, these phenomena, particular phenomena of the suffering, the miseries which we dislike. These miseries, they don't arise randomly. They arose but depends on the causes. What are the causes? They are indicated by taught by the Buddha. Taught by the Tathagata. So now, these two lines, we correlate with how the Buddha taught all the miseries, they arise from the four misconceptions. Failing to see the four mindfulnesses, seeing the opposite of the four mindfulnesses, seeing the body to be pure, seeing the feelings to be pleasant, seeing the mind to be permanent, and seeing the phenomena to be of intrinsic nature, so selfhood nature. So these misperceptions, they are the causes of the miseries. And these misperceptions, complemented by the self-centered attitude, gives rise to all the offshoots of the afflictive emotions. Involuntary pull and push. Pleasant things, you're pulled. Unpleasant things, you're pushed. Involuntary pull and push. Nobody wants somebody to pull you or somebody to push you. Nobody wants that. But that is happening. You don't want something. If that is happening, this is the loss of your freedom. Loss of the freedom is misery. Oftentimes, nirvana or the nibbana is known as the freedom, liberation. Liberation from being affected by the external factors, other factors. Okay, so these four misperceptions, they are the trigger of all the sufferings. This is what is indicated by Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetum Desham Tathagato Hyavatat. Then the next, Desham Chayo Nirota. Desham Chayo, these Nirota, cessation. Cessation of these causes, Nirodha, Evam Vadi Mahashramanasa. Evam, thus taught, Mahashramanaye. Evam Vadi taught, said, Mahashramana, the great saint said, this cessation, great saint taught the cessation of these causes of the suffering as well. So, how to bring the cessation? What is that cessation? And how to bring that cessation? How to bring the freedom, the cessation from these problems is the Satipaṭṭhāna, the four Satipaṭṭhāna. See things more closely. Resort to the wisdom. Wisdom to see things more closely in two ways. One, the first level, to see the body to be impure rather than pure, the feelings to be unpleasant rather than being pleasant, and then the mind to be impermanent rather than being permanent, and the phenomena to be of intrinsicality as opposed to intrinsic nature. Okay, this one. And then go even more closely. The first step will help us to ripen, prepare us, ripen into working to be freed. And then the second step will free us. So therefore, we see that with the Satipaṭṭhāna, the four Satipaṭṭhāna, from there, the first three will invariably take us to the fourth. But we have to keep in mind that the fourth is there. If you're not aware of the fourth, the presence of the fourth, just by Sati, which Professor Asanga Radnaji, what he said, is just by this Sati, don't expect you to be liberated. Because Sati, there are four, not only one. It's not just a sati with the body, feeling, mind, phenomena. Phenomena should not be forgotten. With the phenomena, you see that we have to go to the next level of the close placement or the presence or the close establishment. Next one, that is to see the reality in its closest form. If that is what happened, this is a direct path to Nibbana. That is a direct path to enlightenment. So this is the how we correlate these two things. The Satipaṭṭhāna Sutra, the subject matter of the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutra, particularly the four the mindfulnesses with the dependent origination, the mantra. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Geshalaji, for a very illuminating exposition in a simple and methodical form. You have rightly emphasized that the root cause of suffering, physical, mental, spiritual, is ignorance. And ignorance is not something which is eternal. It is caused by some defiling conditions. And therefore, it is hetu samutpanna. It is caused by some causal conditions, and those causal conditions can be removed also. They are removable. And their nidan is also possible. Now, we do not see the real as it is, because we see it from a difference, and therefore we see it other than what it is. But if you go closer and closer, the real nature of reality is revealed. And here also there is a particular method. So when we talk of the four anuprekshas, well, there is a gradation from deha to vedana, from vedana to chitta, and from chitta to dhamma. And what is important therefore is that we do not have any misconception about the reality, whatever be the nature of a real that we experience. He also referred to concatenation, santati, we call it as santati. There is bhuta santati, there is also chitta santati. That means, for example, mind or mental occurrences come and they cease to exist, but thereby mind doesn't cease to exist. Well, before ceasing, it gives rise to the next one. So we call it as santati, a sort of a concatenation or continuation. So, therefore, the empirical world is not a world of nothingness, but it is a conglomeration of series of occurrences, and all occurrences are having dependent origination. Sometimes a question has been raised as to why four we have Paṭṭhānas. There can be one, there can be two, there can be three or four. But in fact, we have at its basis the doctrine of Panchaskandha, which is elaborated form, and its condensed form of Panchaskandha, Rupa, then Vedana, Sangya, Sanskar, Vijnana. Sangya, Sanskar are reduced to Vijnana, and therefore 5 are reduced to 3. 4. Of course, both is there, the world. But then one thing we should remember, internal and external are not divisive. There is a sort of a continuity between the internal and the external, a sort of the term that he also is symbiosis of the internal and the external, and we have therefore to realize that there is a universal symbiosis, interconnectedness. We generally say this entire cosmos is Buddha Kshetra, in which we are also part and parcel, and all of us have same Buddha Bhava. So this sort of unity of existence and unity of experience is to be emphasized. Buddha is referred to, and you also referred that Karika of Nagarjuna, Mahashramana. Shramana Parampara has three foundations. Etymologically, Shramana means Sama, Shama, Shrama. Sama means to experience everything as one. A sort of fundamental unity. All, in fact, can ultimately be display of the same energy, same Buddha Bhava in varied forms. So, self-sameness, which in Bodhicharya Avatar is expressed as Paratma Samata and Paratma Parivartan. So, this is Sama. The second one is Shrama, for self-enhancement or for removal of suffering or imperfection. You have not to depend upon some extra human agency. Buddha is there only to be worshipped, to be adored. Buddha cannot be invoked to help you. You have to help yourself. Self-reliance. Well, this is a Shrama. And this is possible only if you have Shama. Shama means self-control. Without Shila, you cannot have a fullest efflorescence of pragya. Whatever be the nature of pragya, pragya is not speculation. It is theoretical, no doubt, but every theory must have its fulfillment in practical application, and that practical application is possible through Satipaṭṭhāna, resorting to that. Satipaṭṭhāna, therefore, is a means, is a marga, and it has to lead us to some goal. Once we reach to the goal, then the marga is not needed. We can give away the marga. It is just like a staircase. If you want to go to the top, well, you have to rise up from the bottom. Gradually we have to step up, and then once we reach to the top, we can discard the staircase. Or the other, you gave some other very beautiful example apart from staircase. I don't remember that. But then, see, means is to be resorted to only as a stepping stone, and it should not be a burdensome for us till when we reach to the top. So I think you had some very illuminating presentations for us, and most important thing that he pointed out, that we should take away. What should we take away from our deliberation? The deliberation that we should take away is that all our efforts should be in the form of mutuality, interdependence, love and compassion. Mahakaruna is the guiding principle, and that should be, in fact, the point of take away. Nirvana is not just individualistic, not of an individual. Nirvana is of the whole cosmos, and therefore there has to be individual transformation, social transformation, and also cosmic transformation. Then only the Buddha Vachanas can be truly realized. So we are grateful to Geshe-ji, not only for this beautiful lecture, very instructive, but also for organizing this entire show. And I am happy to note that here also there is a synergical relation between the young and not so young or the aged one. And this sort of, what impressed me the most was the way young scholars made their presentations, very, I should say, thoughtful presentations, and they are promising scholars. And I'm grateful to Geshe-ji that he is encouraging them and enlightening them. So, of course, his presentation was very, very straightforward, in a very simple, lucid and logical manner. Most important thing is logical analysis. We say in Buddhist terminology, dharma pravichaya, analysis of dharmas. Well, he has presented that analysis in a very beautiful form. Nevertheless, there might be some queries, might be some questions. So kindly put them in a synoptic way, so that Geshe-ji can enlighten us on that. So your questions and queries are invited. On any side. Yeah. Please give mic to...
My salutations to everybody present here and to Geshe-la. The question that I'd like to ask is, I drink a cup of tea in the morning and I love to hold it. As I hold it, there's that sensation, that warmth. And I love what it does to me and my body and how it makes me feel. But if I don't get that cup of tea, I feel very unhappy or sad or whatever you call it. I would just like to know how to deal with that.
Okay, so basically, I would say that if you're aware of this mantra, Gate Gate Para Gate Para Samgate Bodhisoham, first, if you don't have a cup of tea, and if you feel miserable, go for a cup of tea. Don't go for Satipaṭṭhāna. Go for a cup of tea. That is, be very practical. Buddha, oftentimes, he was not always talking shunyata, anatta, not always like this. Sometimes he would say that, Ananda, give this person some food. Right? Because when the person is hungry, there's no room for dharma. First, feed that person. So Buddha taught what is known as four factors of goodness. Four factors. It's not always dharma. Say, some of my friends, they introduced their own friends to me and said, "Oh, Geshe-la, he teaches in Tibet house, so you can go to attend his teachings." I said, "No, please don't make it boring, right? Welcome to Tibet house to have a cup of tea with me." Right? Not for teachings, for a cup of tea. That's very important. We should be very practical. So first, we have to have the manifest problem solved. Then once that is solved, then you are not in an imminent threat. And then at that point, you think more, then you still there's a problem. That problem is what the money cannot get. The food you can get by money. Hot tea you can get from money. After getting the hot tea, still you have a problem. Problem with your boyfriend, girlfriend, and so forth. These problems money cannot buy. These problems you have to think and make. So for that we need Satipaṭṭhāna.
Nagarjuna also pointed out Vyavharam anashritya paramartho na deshyate. So Vyavhar is very much essential, but you have to manage Vyavhar through your kushala chitta, so that defilements are removed and all virtues are there too. And if you do that, naturally suffering will be eliminated and we shall be experiencing happiness. Nirvanam paramam sukham. So it is the happiness which is our ultimate goal, and we can have it only if we have resorting to upaya kaushal, another technical term, such a means in empirical life which are conducive to wellness, detrimental to sorrows and suffering. Thank you. Next, yeah.
So you gave the example of a picture of Buddha, that if we are standing at a distance, then we are able to identify the picture of Buddha. But if we go closer, the reality is something else. These are dots. And if we can go further closer, so the reality may be more different. And similarly, you gave the example of a glass of water. At a distance, we can say that it's a glass of water. But if we go closer, the chemist can see further that it is H2O. And more further, the physicists can see that these are electrons and protons. So this came to my mind, then there can be another person who can, further go beyond these two persons also. So how will we identify that we have come to the exact point and there is no scope for further closeness or, further coming down to reality?
Okay, when will this analysis come to an end? This is a question. Right? Okay, so this is a very good question. Okay, so say it depends on what you are looking for. If you're looking for water, you get it, finish. I give it to you, finish. If you're looking for H2O, with your naked eyes, you will not find it. I'll give you a microscope. Then you'll see this. And then your job is done. Finally, it depends. It's not about, so where will it end? It's about what you are looking for. If you're looking for the ultimate means that you pinpoint to something, you pick it up and say that this is something which you cannot go beyond. If you're looking for such a thing, that is known as the ultimate truth. You're looking for the ultimate truth. If you are interested in this, you have to join the Tibet House Nalanda Diploma course. There's a course there. Quantum physics will take another 10 years. Nalanda Master's Diploma course is 1 year. It's very easy. That too you can do online. Quantum. That's true. Yeah. So basically the point is that what are you looking for? If you're looking for what is really ultimately there, I'll give you one line. In the monastic universities, great teachers in Sakyaka, Gyunyama, all these big teachers, they study this, what I'm going to say in one line, they study this for 20, 30, 40 years. They meditate this for like 40, 50 years. His Holiness the Dalai Lama always says that I've been practicing this for the last 70 years and you're getting it for within few seconds. I'll give it to you now. It is known as emptiness of objective existence of the object is the objective existence of the object. You got it? Let me say this again. Emptiness of the objectivity of the object is the objectivity of the object. This is what His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been meditating for the last 70 years.
There is no finality to human endeavor.
No, there is finality.
You have to say it.
No, there's a finality there. This is a finality. Emptiness of objectivity of the object is the objectivity, is the finality of the object.
Now, what finality we said? No.
No. It is we have to study. Professor Bhatt also do the course.
So you are saying emptiness, basically emptiness is...
Nalanda Master's Diploma course. Okay, more questions? If you have more questions.
Otherwise, we wind up. Yeah.
Okay, one over there.
Here and there.
Sir, my question is, how do we control our emotion? Happiness and sorrow are the part of our life. Like if we go to a party, we feel happy and we enjoy like anything. Like if some death take place in our near and dear, we feel sorrow. So how do we control these emotions? Certainly we will get cry if something bad take place or something like that.
This is a very practical question. Thank you so much. It's a very practical question. What I meant right from the beginning of my talk, what I call as the takeaway. What's the takeaway? This is the point. So this question, how to control our emotions? Finally, say the sati is to be aware of your own awareness, of your own emotions. What's going in my bodily sensations? What is going in my mental sensations or mental feelings? What's going in my body? What's going in my mind? How my mind is behaving? So this is sati, to be aware, number one. Once you're aware of that, then you make the object that you're aware of, object make it subtler. First, you learn how to be aware. Once you're aware of that, then the object, shift the object from the mere body, mere breath, to the body to be impure rather than pure. You make the object subtle by going to the object more closely. Then you get to the ultimate, which is the the emptiness or objectivity of the object is the object of the object. Now the takeaway is to be in very real life. So I don't really have the time to spend, like, say, 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day on Satipaṭṭhāna practice. So what should I do? How should I control my emotions? And the reality is that I go home when somebody, when I get good news, I'm very happy. When I see my mother healthier, I'm very happy. And the husband, wife, children, they talk to you nicely, you're happy. They're upset with you, you're unhappy. And you see the death of somebody, you're unhappy. So there's a total turbulence with emotions. How can we actually at least minimize these emotions, control the emotions to some extent, if not full? So why don't we have two plans? One is the short-term plan and one is the long-term plan. Short-term plan is, what are you asking? How to mitigate the intensity of the emotional turbulence, number one. Then long-term plan, how to cut all these problems altogether so that I don't have to suffer anymore. Even the least, I don't have to suffer. So we need to have two plans. So for that matter, I would suggest two things. One is this mantra. This mantra should be a great reminder. In a way, this mantra is telling us that, who's that? The Pushkarji? Where is he? Okay, Pushkarji cited his teachers, his professors, the usual statement. If you don't know Buddhism, don't worry, as long as you know one stanza. That is, commit no evils, accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible, subdue your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Okay, so this being the case, what we need to do is just recite this mantra. This mantra is not to make you a Buddhist. This mantra is to remind you that I should not behave in evil deeds. I should engage in virtues as much as I can. Ye dharma hetu prabhava. These phenomena, they don't arise randomly. These miseries that we go through, turbulence, emotions that we go through, they arise from the causes. What causes? Evils. Don't commit evils. And happiness that I'm seeing is because of the virtues. Accumulate as great wealth of virtues as possible. So how to do that? This question. If we cannot do the Satipaṭṭhāna practice on a daily basis, still recite these 4 lines. All composite things are impermanent. Impermanent, which is the Satipaṭṭhāna of the mind to be impermanent. All contaminated things are of suffering nature. As long as my mind is contaminated with the afflictions, I will never be happy. Number 2, suffering nature, which is the Satipaṭṭhāna related to the feeling to be unpleasant. Then number 3, everything is the nature of emptiness and selflessness. Satipaṭṭhāna, number 1, the body to be impure, and number 4, phenomena to be of selfless nature. So these two combine together in number 3, that everything is the nature of emptiness, selflessness. Transcending sorrow. So thus understand first 3, you transcend your sorrow, the turbulence, the emotions. That is what you are seeking as the absolute peace. Transcending sorrow is absolute peace or nibbana, right? So just recite this mantra to remind me that I should do good, I should not do evil, number 1. Then what should I be doing then? Then recite these 4 stanzas by reflecting on meanings at least 3 times a day. Guarantee that your emotional stirs, emotional turbulence will be mitigated much more. And then when that is subsided, then your mind will feel more calm, and then you see that, okay, so I'm much calmer now. So then you see that, say, you first go to the spot where you can go, you go there. Once you reach there, you will see even more. Then the long-term plan will start to operate. Okay, these things. The mantra plus the 4 seals. All composite things impermanent. All contaminated things are suffering nature. Everything is the nature of emptiness, selflessness, transcending sorrow is nirvana. Just say this 3 times, but reflecting the meanings. That's it. That's good enough to mitigate the intensity of the fear, anxiety, anguish within the mind. Thank you.
Thank you. For paucity of time, we shall take only one last question.
Geshe-la, could you please explain 4 factors of goodness?
Okay, the 4 factors of goodness. This is a very important point. In fact, oftentimes people, they see Buddhist practitioners as very self-denial. Okay, you are in Buddhism. Can you go to a party? Can you come to a five-star hotel? Right? They become apprehensive of now you are into Buddhism. Right? Can you come to a party? Okay, this is a total naivety. This is a total naivety, not knowing what the Buddha taught. Buddha taught what is known as the 4 factors of goodness. 1, so 2 in terms of goals, 2 in terms of means. 2 goals and 2 means. And the 2 goals, one the short term, and the other the long term. Likewise, the 2 means, 1 for the short term, 1 for the long term. So the goals, the long-term goal is eventually to be freed of all your fears of life. That is nirvana. Next is to have the maximum happiness, which is Buddhahood. These labels are given, but the idea is that your miseries, the fears become zero, and your happiness becomes infinity. These 2 become the one goal, which is known as the long-term goal. Then the short-term goal is while we are yet to achieve these 2 states, you are in samsara. While you are in samsara, then have a good health, good food, good house, good birth. These in terms of the state of happiness while being in samsara. A state of happiness, not misery. State of happiness while being in samsara, technically referred to as the ngunto, or the higher states. Higher states, the state of happiness. That is the immediate goal. And the immediate goal, happiness, is because of the wealth, the Buddha said. Now the means, 2 means. Immediate goal is given to you by the wealth. So therefore the Buddha is so emphatic that the wealth and the resources are not wasted. Buddha is so emphatic on this point that resources are not wasted. For example, they're using the lights. While you are sleeping, the Buddha said that don't fall asleep with the lights on, with the oil lamp, butter lamp, whatever. Or don't use it because it's a waste of energy. When you sleep, you don't need that. But the exception is there, the Buddha said. Buddha's teaching is so practical. If you have a phobia, night phobia, where you cannot sleep without lights on, then there is exception. Exceptions are there. Buddha's teaching is not rigid at all. Okay, so the point is that in terms of 2 goals, the one is the lasting goal, which is fearlessness as nirvana, and the infinite happiness as Buddhahood. These 2 are the one goal, and the other goal is the happiness while you are in samsara. 2, the means to the happiness while you are in samsara is the wealth and the resources. And the means to the nirvana and Buddhahood is the dhamma. Dharma on dhamma. Dharma, dhamma. So that is the wealth and the dharma as the 2 means to get the 2 goals. The higher states within samsara and the lasting happiness in terms of nirvana and Buddhahood. These are the 4. Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la, for a very brilliant exposition of Buddhist thought and practices. We are really grateful to you, and on behalf of the audience, I extend my heartfelt thanks to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I would like to thank our chairperson, Professor S.R. Bhatt, and the speaker, Venerable Geshe Dorje Abdullah, for such a wonderfully enlightening session. And now I would like to request Venerable Dr. Dhammapiyaji, Secretary General, International Buddhist Confederation, to kindly offer khatha to our chairperson and the speaker. Professor Sarbat. Professor Sarbat. Thank you. And the valedictory session will start in 5 minutes. So for that time being, please be seated and discuss any queries that you have. Thank you.